Day morning, and so the film sessions with Marcus Ray are very informative, and we're gonna go over that, Marcus, because when I saw that we were talking about the 80-yard touchdown, and I made the comment. And first of all, folks, Marcus Ray, Rays of Light, brought to you by the Sports Bar West Side. They're all new. They're at the corner of Jackson and Zeeb, and their motto is eat sports, drink sports, watch sports, and talk sports. They're the Sports Bar West Side. Now, Marcus, when I saw that 80-yard touchdown play, and I backed it up and saw how low the safety was, it immediately struck me that it was by design. That there's no way that he's that low, and it's some kind of bust that he is play and run. I mean, safety. I mean, you could see he froze on the play action. I was like, he must have run response. There's no way he's gonna bust that big. And Greg Madison said as much, that defense, that they had the safety lower than normal. You going hard safety action on run action, and in that particular play, now you got Blake Countess man to man on the outside. Now I think the indication that we got from Greg Madison was that maybe the play action kind of furrows Blake some, and looking at the film, it didn't happen. that didn't happen. But Marcus, what you talked about was an aspect of the defense that you as a guy, you as a safety, as an All-American guy, you would have made a different call than the call that was called from the sideline. You would have adapted, is what you're saying.
You're exactly right, Sam. See, the one thing about football is a lot of people who watch it, they know how the pieces move, but they don't know how to play the game. So it's kind of like chess. And in that coverage, whenever you hear a coverage, you're supposed to break the field up into fractions. Mm-hmm. So that was a defense where they play quarters, quarter, half. All right. So you got two quarters make up one side of the field. Half field is the other side. That's how you get your one whole. So on the side that you're talking about, Michigan was playing quarter, quarter, half. But they played it where the safety, they call it hard, where he sits heavy on the run.
Right.
But first of all, the play action fake really didn't sell the run. So by design, Blake Countess was going to be inside man to man on any deep routes. But here's the problem. See, here's how you win a national championship versus giving up an 80-yard touchdown. And it starts with coaching. What I would have did, and I even told Jared this, I said, listen, I know that you were coached to do one thing, but you have to be smart enough to know, and Blake is supposed to say, hey, listen, I can't get inside of this route, because that wide receiver did not have a wide split. He was actually 1 yard outside the hash, and a field corner like Blake is never, under no circumstances, supposed to be inside of the hash. So what you do is you still play your quarter, quarter, half. You just don't play it 6 hard. So the hard takes the strong safety out of the double team on the post. Mm-hmm. So Jared did what he was coached.
He did what he was coached to do. That was the point that I was making. Hey, he was where he was supposed to be based on the call.
Yeah. So Blake was lined up outside of that guy because he really couldn't line up inside. It just wasn't enough room, and he was going to give up 30 yards of field. So what you do as a secondary, what Charles would have said, Ray, what we looking like? I would have told Charles, check out a hard, go regular quarters, get outside. Hey, I got you on the post. That's what experienced guys who are well coached are able to see that on the field. But the other thing nobody's talking about is the backside safety. Clark. He didn't get any depth in his half field coverage. As a half field guy, you're supposed to get deep, and then you can steal the post because the quarterback would have never saw you backside. So to me, it's a complete breakdown back there between Blake, Jared, and Jeremy, because they weren't students of the game enough to recognize present danger. And that's what you have to be able to do to be a great secondary.
I guess for me, I looked at it initially saying, I just think Blake Countess is in a no-win situation there. He's a guy that is, I think he's a heady guy. Man, I know what you just said about that, but he's a heady guy that plays well in off and zone coverage. But in a foot race, he's not going to win that. He's not going to win that with that guy. He's not going to win that with that guy.
And that's where, like, what made me a different player was that I knew my limitations. If I got into a track meet then I knew I wasn't going to win. But I understood my help around me. So what Blake has to do, you can't run with this guy. You make sure that somebody else is supposed to be where they're supposed to be too. Or you check out of it just for that one play. But what Michigan doesn't have is guys that understand how the entire coverage works together. So really,
you're saying it's robotic. So they get the call and then they go out.
And
they're
of course they're robots. They're not football players. They're not thinkers. Maybe they don't have any. Maybe they're not being taught to think a certain way. But whenever you have a zone coverage where you have two safeties, like a too high look, the upfield route should always be double teamed. Whether it was the field safety and corner, checking out of it to regular quarters and getting some depth, or you stay in your 6 hard and tell the backside safety, you go double the upfield route. So Blake was by himself in no man's land. And that's football 101. And that's the difference between 23 interceptions, only giving up 5 touchdown passes all year, and giving up an 80-yard bomb in a game to a team you shouldn't lose to.
8:15 on a Wednesday morning. So that's the kind of thing that we're talking about. It was funny. I got into a debate with a guy immediately after the game. I said, look, Jared Wilson didn't based on the call, Jared Wilson didn't bust on that.
He was out of the mix. Exactly.
Yeah, he based on the call because they thought the safety blew it. It's no, he did not.
No, he didn't.
He did not. And Madison kind of confirmed it. And he didn't say the exact call, but you said hard. So it looked 4 hard. And then Blake has, you said, man to man. But what you're talking about is football on a different level. See, you're talking about football on a level where you, as an All-American, now you're thinking the game. You can take the call and you can adjust to what you see on the football field. And clearly, obviously, in that particular situation, they weren't able to do that. Now, what Greg Madison said is, he said that's on us as the coaches. He said that's on us as the coaches to coach them up, to get to the point where they can go out and they can. He didn't say make adjustments, but not make some of the mistakes that they made on the football field. I don't know that he was saying that they should have made the checks that you were saying they should have made, but he seemed to really think that guys got out of position even with the call that was made, that maybe they give up a big play, but they don't give up a touchdown if guys execute the way that they were supposed to.
Yeah, guys are supposed to execute, but I still think it would have been hard on Blake to play inside leverage of a guy that has a tight split. If you're going to tell, Charles Woodson would have got beat on that play, but Charles would have said, hey, Ray, I'm in trouble. And I would have looked, I would have said, we all are in trouble. If we stay hard, Tommy, you help him on the post backside. I'm going to rob the dig backside. I'm going to rob the deep end route from the other guy.
If Jeremy Clark has his depth, it is half
his
responsibility.
It's a no play if Jeremy Clark does what he's supposed to do.
So if they had executed, even with the call that was made, it either would have been a pick, a pass breakup, or a big play that they stopped short of the touchdown, right? Even if they don't make the adjustments that you're talking about.
Exactly right. But Blake still lined up outside. If they were going to stay with the call, Blake should have went ahead and got inside. He never lined up inside. He should have lined up inside and played exactly what his job was, which was the deep post, inside man, and the backside safety still supposed to play his half field and get some depth. So you had 2 guys, the 2 half field guys busted. Everybody else was cool.
All right, so let's go over the rest. We got Marcus Ray because Ray, I want to get as much into this game and kind of looking ahead as possible while we got you here. That wasn't the only big play that they gave up. They gave up over 400 yards passing to Gary Nova. Didn't force him into a turnover, and he looked like in a game previous that he was a turnover machine. They had opportunities at times. I mean, the Frank Clark play really kind of sticks out. Just give me a kind of a broad view of what else you saw on defense in that game.
What I saw on defense was guys who made some plays up front, and they played well against the run. But there were times when guys got out of their pass rush lanes up front, all right? Then I saw Rutgers have a game plan that was pretty good. It doesn't mean that Michigan shouldn't have executed or been able to stop Rutgers, but the way they ran certain formations and like that very first long pass that was 55 yards, a guy ran a shallow cross and he ran off. Michigan was in man-to-man. But Rutgers
they were in bunch where they
were in a bunch. Mm-hmm. And the number 2 guy on the bunch, he went vertical. Blake didn't get a good jam, And so JD didn't have a chance to play underneath because it's a natural pick route.
Mm-hmm.
So I think by design, Rutgers had some advantages based on what they knew Michigan was going to play.
Mm-hmm.
The middle of the field was wide open. Michigan was in man-to-man. Once again, the free safety, the guy that was in the middle, he took a poor angle, and that's how you give up big plays. So I saw guys who broke down fundamentally on defense. I'm not going to get into scheme too much, but I saw guys that broke down fundamentally. And I think Rutgers play calling, like when they ran the jet sweep, and the kid just came in motion, broke it around the end. 3 guys were unblocked. Joe Bolden, Taco Charlton, and one other guy was unblocked. And next thing you know, Rutgers got the perimeter, and they're just up. I just think that Rutgers' play calling was better than Michigan's play calling, and Michigan did not get to the quarterback. Gary Nova made some plays with his feet. See, he didn't force the throw. He tucked the ball, ran. One time he moved the chains. Another time, he was getting his team out of bad situations. But Rutgers wasn't really trying to run the ball because they're not a run team. But I just think defensively, Michigan got outplayed. All right. They got out executed. I think Rutgers did what they wanted to do versus Michigan not doing what they wanted to do, just to keep it on the elementary level. But that was a winnable game. But guys like Frank Clark, you got to make that sack. See, when you leave plays on the field, then
it bites you.
The win-loss column is going to start to add up one way or another, heavy in the L, low in the W.
Yeah, and you can't put that all on the Frank Clark play because Michigan had other opportunities in that game. Mm-hmm. But that 4-point differential between touchdown and field goal right there, because that's a third down play. You bring Gary Nova down right there, they're kicking a field goal. And how many points did Michigan lose by? They lost by 2 points.
Lost by 2 points. And then, the play at the end where Michigan just flat out got hosed on Darbo's catch. I think there, Michigan executes that play, they win the game. And so I'm saying it. Michigan got cheated, in my opinion. It was a poor call. And it probably had a lot to do with what was going on last week. Hey, this is the week where we're just going to just have no love for Michigan. Hey, we know he caught the ball, but if you win, then we ain't got nothing else to talk about. Because as soon as Michigan wins one game, then the conversation is going to change a little bit as far as everything being all bad. And so I think this is a winnable game. See, now everybody's seeing why 2 weeks ago I said Michigan should win their next 3 games. That was before all the drama, before I knew Devin was going to get benched. I thought Minnesota, when you watch that game, it was a winnable game for at least 2.5 quarters, okay? Rutgers, you lose by 2 points. Now, wait a minute. That's a winnable game when you really watch it. Michigan had the lead, playing, all right. Michigan's not going to stop. If you give up big plays in the secondary and you can't get to the quarterback, somebody's going to throw for 400 yards on you. It's just going to happen. And it's going to happen again this year, maybe twice. You still got Indiana. Don't be surprised. Hackenberg, this week's offensive line is not very good. So Michigan probably has the advantage up front. But if Hackenberg has time, he'll throw for 350. I'm just telling you. You still got some teams that can light it up if you don't get to the quarterback, if you miss sacks, if you don't execute on the back end, if you don't have defensive backs who have unders. See, when you're a defensive back, you're supposed to always recognize present and current danger on every play. And I'm not just saying this because we won a national title. I was trained to make sure everybody on the field, every snap, lined up the way they were supposed to and executed. And all the guys I played with will tell you that. What Vance Bedford did was put his brain in my brain and said, you're the coach on the field. I can't stop the play. This ain't practice. So that's just what that secondary is lacking. I thought Wilson stepped up and knocked some people down and tried to move around. But I think the athleticism is there, but there's a mental aspect of being a student of the game that's lacking. And sometimes that comes from not watching as much film. I used to hold my own meetings. If you didn't come to my film session, you weren't going to be on the field. That's how much Vance trusted me. So that's why we didn't have MAs. That's why Charles and Dre and everybody lined up and played. But when you got 4 smart guys back there, hey, Ray, whoa, I'm inside, but no, Charles, check out of that. Dre, jam him. Tommy, get deep. Sam, go get him. Sometimes that got nothing to do with talent. It's mental, being a student of the game, and then you can play your game.
Yeah, I got to tell you, a guy who seems like, regardless of everything else that's going on, seems like he's playing at a high level, and you just, I think, absolved him of one of the slights that he was getting in the game. You had that bunch, man. He got picked right out of the play. Man, I thought Jordan Lewis played an outstanding game under the circumstances. I mean, he was able to run. He was able to run with any guy back there. Talked a little smack while he did it. I think of all the guys on defense, he's been the most consistent guy for them this season.
I think so too. And to his credit on that play, on that underneath play where he got picked. When Blake's guy got up the field right now, then JD was picked. But what you have to do, if you're in a bunch situation, you get on different levels. The guy whoever's the number 2 defender, he lines up on the guy that's on the ball in the bunch. And you can't let him vertical.
Yeah, they didn't adjust to the bunch in that game.
Yeah, if you let him vertical, now the pick play is there. But if he doesn't get, it's just like a pick and roll. If you don't let that guy get to the spot, then it's a no play. But what JD could have done was got a little bit deeper and lined up inside and expected. You always expect the number 1 receiver to go underneath in a bunch.
And here. I mean, you're making it sound so easy, but I want to get the other side, Marcus. I want to get the other side because, man, you see this. Guys in the NFL can't guard that. I mean, I see the Denver Broncos run that formation every damn game, and teams can't stop it, man. They go against man-to-man, they go a bunch, boom, it's a guy running wide open across the middle.
Well, you got to be able to have a switch up. Sometimes you play combo where the number, like you're going to play in and out on the number 1 and the number 3 receiver in the bunch. Hey, first inside, first outside. Sometimes you adjust your alignment where, like I said, JD lines up a little bit deeper at 6 yards. He gets inside. You always expect number 1 to go inside. So you get higher than the level that's supposed to pick you so you can get around it. And then if you're the guy on number 3 who's always expected to go outside, then you adjust your alignment and then you just play it like that. But the reason why it works is because some guys aren't thinkers. They don't communicate. And sometimes when you know your defensive opponent, you know how to attack. Oh, they're going to combo us. So let's run a straight and a pick so they can't get us. So that kills the combo. So you got to have guys who can adjust, think, and then understand how the defense is trying to attack you. And at the NFL, just because those guys are in the NFL making millions don't make them thinkers. Some of those guys are not thinkers. They're see ball, get ball, phenomenal athletes, but they're not thinkers. But when you're a thinker and a player, now that's when you start talking about the Peyton Mannings and all these other guys, the Rod Woodsons and the guys that you'd be like, oh my, the Ed Reeds of the NFL.
You know, to me, I watch that play. It's like the pick and roll in basketball. It's like, man, you throw it out there. It's a go-to that every team uses to test your man-to-man skills, to test your counting skills that you point out. And can you count?
Yeah, and like when you see an offensive team get into a formation, shift, and go in motion, they're trying to get you out of whack. Can they make adjustments? Can we outnumber them on the flank, on the perimeter, which Rutgers did to Michigan? Like when their wide receivers started going in motion, everybody should have just shifted to the right, a half a gap, and then now you got somebody out there to tackle the jet sweep. But if you stand there and don't move when they motion, they got one more than you, and then they're going to get a hat on the hat, and that's where you see the big plays. This is a thinking man's game, Sam. When everybody says you play this game from the neck up, you really do. The physical part is the easy part, the running and the hitting and the tough man. But thinking is a totally different game within the game.
And let me tell you, and we will get into this on a huge show across Michigan tomorrow because I want to give you an opportunity to say a few things about Devin's performance. But, man, I mean, this is Michigan State best defense in the league. They even get messed up, against a bunch set. It gives them fits. It gave them fits against Oregon.
Trips, bunch, any 3x1, it forces you to change the coverage. And you have to understand that as a defensive back. That's why when you're trained properly, you have a bunch check or some type of anticipation of what you're going to do if they come out in trips. Trips has always been a defense killer because it forces guys, it puts stress on the middle of the field. Guys get a little wider out of the box. So now you're looking saying, okay, how are they going to attack me? But trips is always going to do it. But Michigan State's problem is they're missing one thinker on the back end. And you can't trick a thinker, but you can trick a non-thinker.
All right. So Devin Gardner.
Oh, I thought, you know what? My hat goes off to DG. I thought he made some phenomenal throws. The one that Jake Butt dropped down the middle, he defeated tight coverage. Devin threw a perfect ball right over the linebacker, underneath the safety. Devin made plays with his feet, and I think his offensive line did a great job of creating pockets for Devin. I watched the tape hard, and I'm saying Devin had time to throw the ball. I think, AJ dropped the pass. Norfleet dropped one. And then early on in the game, I had people tweeting me saying, oh, Devin's indecisiveness. You got to get rid of the ball. No, it was a 3-step drop. And Rutgers was in man-to-man. Everybody was covered. So the ball has to come out quick on a 3-step drop. The linemen don't even get depth. So if nobody's open, now he got to tuck and try to get out of there. But Rutgers, that 1 technique and that 3 technique, number 95 and number 91, they were grown men in the middle of Michigan's offense as far as Rutgers defense. They stayed in their pass rush lanes like disciplined linemen do. They got the sack, and then Funchess didn't keep he stopped his route and stood and watched. When you're in man-to-man, if you're a wide receiver and you're being covered man-to-man, you're supposed to keep running. But if it's zone, that's when you sit down in between the linebackers and find you a window. So Devin had nowhere to go. He got sacked. I know he turned the ball over that led to points, but my hat goes off to a 5th-year senior that got back in and played well. My problem is he had 8 200-yard passing games a season ago, and he has 0 this year. And so I don't know if the system is working for Devin, because you can't force him to be something that he's not. He's not a drop-back pro-style quarterback. He's a kind of a dual threat, loosey-goosey. You got to get him moving around, have the routes clear and concise and what you want done. But I'm still rolling with Devin, and I thought he played excellent.
All right, well, we will get more in-depth tomorrow. Be sure to tune in to the Huge Show across Michigan, 3 to 6 p.m. Marcus and I will be going across the state of Michigan. We'll get more into Michigan. We're going to get into Michigan State and their defense as well.
Okay.
Going to break it all down. So going to have a great time. Hopefully you guys come out to see us at Meyer from 3 to 6 tomorrow. Ann Arbor Saline Road. John Jansen will be out there starting at 5 o'clock from 5 to 7 for a meet and greet and signing autographs. There's going to be free food, giveaways. So, again, tomorrow from 3 until 7 p.m. out at the Meyer on Ann Arbor Saline Road. Hope to see you there. Got to get to a break. We come back on the other side. Going to be joined by the trio of Michigan assistant basketball coaches, our annual roundtable. So stay tuned for that here on the Michigan Insider. Sports Talk 1050 WTKA.